London, 1888. In the dark, damp streets of the East End, where fog and smog create a palpable sense of unease, someone emerged who would forever be etched in history as a symbol of fear. Jack the Ripper. A murderer whose identity was never revealed. Ruthless, merciless, leaving nothing but terror and mystery in his wake. What started as a few insignificant killings quickly escalated into a series of brutal murders that shook the entire city. Though today we recognize him mainly for his horrifying actions, back then he was just a shadow in the streets of London, a shadow that was never caught, leaving behind no trace. His victims were random residents of the East End, prostitutes who became the targets of his madness. Jack the Ripper's crimes were not just violent, they were chillingly precise. The wounds on his victims' bodies were so grotesque that they terrified even the hardest of detectives. This wasn't just a murder, it was something the human mind could hardly comprehend. What was it about this figure that made him so elusive? What made him remain untouchable like a shadow that never fades? It was a cold morning in August 1888 when the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered on Bucks Row. She lay in a dark alley, her throat slashed so deeply it nearly reached the spine, and her abdomen was horrifically torn open. This was no ordinary murder, it was a message, a chilling sign that something darker than poverty or disease had taken root in the East End. Barely a week later, he struck again. Annie Chapman's body was found in the backyard of Hanbury Street, mutilated, disemboweled with terrifying precision. Thus began a killing spree that would leave London gripped in fear. The victims, women cast aside by society, forgotten and ignored, became offerings in a grotesque ritual of blood. The scenes were eerily similar. Narrow alleys shrouded in fog, the silence broken only by distant hooves on cobblestones. And then the body, always violently mutilated. Each murder sent waves of fear through the city, along with a growing sense of helplessness. The killer left behind no evidence, no fingerprints, just fear, just blood. Jack the Ripper didn't just kill. He opened. He cut with a precision that defied randomness. Investigators at the time began to wonder, was this the work of a madman or a man of medicine? Someone who knew anatomy, who understood where to cut, what to remove, how to avoid excessive bleeding. Some victims had internal organs removed with such expertise, even seasoned doctors were left speechless. Could the killer have been a surgeon, or perhaps a butcher? Maybe an army medic with battlefield experience. Whoever he was, he moved through human flesh with the cold focus of someone who'd done it before. Each crime scene told the same haunting story. This wasn't rage, it was ritual, deliberate, repetitive, almost surgical in execution. Jack the Ripper wasn't just taking lives, he was composing something grotesque, and every incision was a message. I'm in control, and you can't stop me. Dear boss. Those chilling words opened one of the most infamous letters in the history of crime. The sender? Jack the Ripper, or so they claimed. Between September and October 1888, dozens of letters flooded London's police stations and newspaper offices. Some were riddled with mistakes, obvious hoaxes, but others carried a disturbing level of detail.
Every step deeper into the darkness reveals a truth more chilling than the last.
The letters poured fuel on the fire. Fear spread faster than the blood on Whitechapel's cobblestones. People began to see the Ripper everywhere, in the butcher, the doctor, the man next door. Each new message was another page in a gruesome story with no final chapter. Whitechapel bled and Scotland Yard stumbled. The investigation into Jack the Ripper became a textbook case of chaos, miscommunication, and missed opportunities. Evidence was lost, crime scenes weren't secured. Detectives often worked in isolation, as if solving the case alone would earn them glory. Too many suspects, too few facts, and looming over it all, a panicked public demanding justice. Newspapers stoked hysteria with wild theories, and the police chased ghosts through fog and shadows. Each unanswered murder felt like another failure, another step deeper into the abyss. Some investigators believed the Ripper was protected, a man of status, shielded by power. Others blamed outdated methods and lack of technology. But one truth echoed louder than the rest. The killer was always ahead, like a phantom in the mist, vanishing before they could even catch his shadow, leaving behind only fear and the dead. The list of suspects stretched endlessly, might nobles, doctors, butchers, drifters. Everyone was Jack the Ripper, and no one was. One of the most sensational theories pointed to Prince Albert Victor, grandson of Queen Victoria, a conspiracy or a royal cover-up. Then there was Montague John Druitt, a troubled barrister who died shortly after the last known killing, or Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant plagued by mental illness, later confined to an asylum. They all fit, yet none were ever charged. As decades passed, more names emerged. The painter Walter Sickert, the royal physician Sir William Gull. Even a woman, yes, some believed Jack the Ripper could have been a woman in disguise, but without concrete evidence, it's all just theory. And perhaps that's the most chilling part, the idea that the killer walked away, unpunished, blending into the crowd, ordinary, invisible. His name is still a mystery, but his shadow looms large. Jack the Ripper didn't just kill, he changed the way we see murder. The streets of Whitechapel were never the same, nor were the police, the press, or the public. From his blood-soaked rampage was born the modern serial killer myth, a figure who kills not for gain or jealousy, but out of some unknowable darkness. The press discovered the power of fear, and the police learned too late that the world of crime was evolving. Jack's legacy isn't just in the pages of history, it's in the fear that lingers, the books, the films, the endless theories. They endure not because we love mystery, but because we fear the truth. That the man who butchered women in foggy alleys was never caught. That monsters can live among us faceless, untouched, and real. More than 130 years later, and we're still asking, who was Jack the Ripper? In the 21st century, science stepped into the shadows. DNA testing, forensic breakthroughs, genetic tracing. A turning point came in 2019 when researchers claimed a match. DNA on a victim's shawl linked to Aaron Kosminski. But doubts followed fast. Contaminated evidence, flawed methods, no peer-reviewed confirmation. The excitement faded, leaving only uncertainty. Can we trust century-old samples? Can we ever be sure? One thing is certain. Our obsession with Jack hasn't faded. Each new lead ignites hope and dread. Because maybe the truth won't satisfy us. Or worse, maybe we'll never know. Maybe the Ripper truly vanished, taking his secrets into the grave, leaving behind a name soaked in blood and a question with no answer.